Hello everyone. This video is meant to explain some things that are needed to make fun and enjoyable gameplay. I've been making layouts and gameplay for a while now, and I like to think that I know a good amount of things involving gameplay and gameplay creating. This will also play as a video meant to explain some of the things I say in my gameplay review introductions, so I may call back to my intro a few times. With this being said, let's move on to the video. As a gameplay creator, I try to make gameplay as fun as possible so the player can enjoy the level they're playing, or not get annoyed over any inconsistencies while they're trying to practice. To do this, there's a lot of things to consider while creating gameplay. Hopefully this will give you a more in-depth view over this and maybe even inspire you to try gameplay creating yourself. To me, personally, there are 6 major things to good gameplay. These 6 things are syncing, smoothness, transitioning, variety, consistency, and creativity. But for this, I'm going to explain all that I stated in my gameplay review introduction. So, let's start off with a quick one: originality. Originality isn't exactly a very important part of gameplay creation, and in this day and age of GD, original gameplay is hard to create. To make some fun and operational gameplay, some inspiration can happen. Some levels can have such fun gameplay it makes you take it and add your own twist and put it inside your own level. I personally don't look down upon this. In fact, I can actually say I encourage it if you do it right. But let's state the obvious. Too much of other levels' gameplay can really make your own level feel predictable and less enjoyable. When I say predictable, I mean it can feel as if the player's already played it or has seen it, rendering the gameplay boring. Plus, you're stealing gameplay. Don't do too much, please, no. I honestly don't think I have much else to say since the rest is rather obvious, so let's just move on to the next topic. This topic in question is syncing, one of the most important parts of gameplay creation. A well-synced level can make a player experience much more enjoyable, and can even make it satisfying. If your gameplay isn't well synced, it makes the gameplay feel off and inconsistent. When a level is synced well, it makes the level a bit easier due to the fact how you can kind of click along with the music. This can make rather difficult parts much easier, which in itself can be very satisfying. Some players, like myself for instance, will be much better at a level that's synced correctly, and can make gameplay so much more enjoyable and less annoying, even if the gameplay is inconsistent or repetitive. And in a viewer's perspective, if you're watching a video, since they aren't focused on beating the level, they're going to be more focused on the level itself. And if it is something like an extreme demon, gameplay is what they're going to be mainly focused on. This pretty much means that anything that is off sync can easily be visible, and this can be very distracting, especially if it's extremely obvious. Also, please, for the love of God, make sure you are syncing with the right game mode. If you're at least competent with gameplay creation, you can easily tell when a part of the song calls for a certain game mode. This means you really shouldn't try and sync a shit game mode with this. Something like that is fit more for Q, Ball, and maybe Spider if you do it right. Maybe doing a ship after the drop happens is a better idea, but trying to do ship here is not a very smart idea. It just doesn't fit. I should also add that playtesting is an extremely crucial part to syncing. Pressing that button to make you play level and builder is your best friend, and you should constantly be using it. Yes, even if you make a very small change to gameplay, and yes, even if you move or 1 pixel, you should still playtest. This is to ensure it syncs very well, if not perfectly, to the music. Syncing may be a very repetitive process, but it's really worth it in the end, trust me. I would know, I playtest way too much, maybe a little more than I should, but it just allows me to ensure that it's good gameplay with a good sync. Now for the next thing, and this thing in question is smoothness, as I like to call it. Smoothness is basically how fluid the flow of the gameplay is. This is pretty much a combination of everything that makes good gameplay, but it has to be done in a certain way to make the gameplay quote-unquote smooth. When a level is smooth, the gameplay shouldn't feel as if it's changed completely after a game mode portal has been passed. The gameplay has to feel like it ties together all the way across. It would be weird to go from a tight ship section with a straight flying and high speeds to a freaking 2x speed wave that has no fast clicking whatsoever. Gameplay really has to be fluent to be enjoyable. To a viewer's perspective, smoothness doesn't really matter, but in a player's perspective, a player will easily tell when a level is very smooth and fluent. Yes, gameplay speed and mood can change, especially when the song is changing in speed and tone. But unless the song changes suddenly in tone, gameplay change should be done somewhat slowly. Sudden changes in gameplay can really make the gameplay feel forced and annoying. This, however, isn't exactly a crucial part of gameplay and its enjoyment. In fact, sometimes gameplay can be better without smoothness in consideration. But I highly recommend you to think of how the tone of your gameplay balances out. Fluent gameplay is a detail that players will notice, so make sure if the level calls for it, to make the gameplay as smooth as possible. Now, transitioning is similar to smoothness, but it is still a different part of gameplay creation, so let's talk about transitioning. Transitioning is the most basic form of gameplay creation. Everyone does it, even when you're new to creating. You've probably made a transition by just simply placing down a portal to a new gameplay. When you're going through a portal, it should not lead to bugs, or lead to an entirely different form of gameplay from anything else that is extremely inconsistent. This may sound difficult to some, but it really isn't, trust me. When you go through a portal, you should be able to easily tell what comes next. And no, I don't mean someone should just know what comes next without seeing the whole level, like in practice mode and whatnot. I mean, they should be able to go through a portal and not die from being unable to see what comes next, or being thrown into an absolutely insane gameplay that comes out of absolutely nowhere. For instance, if you're dying right after you go through the portal over and over again, there's a good chance that the transition is not well done or is absolutely horrible. Meaning that you should find a way to make it much smoother and make more sense. And for God's sakes, don't quote-unquote fix something by putting some invisible platform to land on, unless it is very obvious why it's there. You don't know how many times I've died to easy levels because of this. If you place one, an invisible platform, and you find yourself dying on it, that is meant to help you, there's a good chance that it's doing more harm than good. Just fix the gameplay enough to allow the player to adjust themselves to do the part, especially after going through a teleportation portal. Now, going on to game modes. Variety is a small detail to gameplay that can be ignored based on what kind of gameplay you're trying to build. Variety is basically the amount of game modes you're using. This means how often and how long a game mode appears in your gameplay. Nine Circles levels is obviously going to be mostly wave, so this gets an obvious pass, but certain levels really do need a variety of game modes. When gameplay is being dragged on for too long in one game mode, it can make the gameplay feel very repetitive. Or, of course, if you only have two game modes, you're gonna make the level feel so boring it hurts, even if two single game modes are done in a fun way. Though, again, this is very reliant on what kind of level you are making, and how the gameplay is meant to be made. Crazy Man 50's levels, for instance, are a clear example of this. Yes, his levels use a variety of game modes, but can drag them on for a long time. Though, this actually works due to the kind of levels they are. For instance, Lit Fuse. In the ship part, you know how long it drags on, and overall Lit Fuse is very repetitive, but it's kind of fun, and it works that way, doesn't it? That's what I mean. If you're having trouble getting that constant variety, having mini portals and dual portals can spice up your gameplay and make it more varietal. As long as it syncs well with the song, this small change can make the level more varietal and can feel much more interesting and enjoyable. With that topic being explored, we shall move on to one last thing, which is consistency. This itself is probably the biggest issue that I see when it comes to a lot of levels gameplay. If done right, the difficulty spike can make a lot of sense if it's seen correctly, but it seems a lot of levels just change in difficulty a lot by going through just a single game mode portal. Once you go through a game mode portal, as soon as you change it like a ship, difficulty spikes. And when you go in the cube, all of a sudden it's easy. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't work. Though I have to admit, when making Extreme Demon gameplay, making the gameplay consistent all the way through is rather difficult. I myself do make a consistent gameplay when it reaches such a high difficulty level. The best way to fix this is just to play through each part again once you've finished your gameplay layout. You can either buff or nerf certain parts to make the gameplay more consistent. This is what I always do every time I finish a layout. This is really important when it comes to enjoyment factor of players when you're playing a level. Consistent gameplay can be very annoying to deal with in practice, especially when your consistency constantly goes from easy to hard gameplay at random intervals, just because it's meant to make the level more quote-unquote extreme. Seriously though, don't make gameplay consistent as a way to make the level harder. It'll make your level less enjoyable and annoying. If you're gonna make it hard, do it right. Actually make difficult gameplay all the way through. And make it so much more fun and enjoyable. Much better and easier to adjust than just make some parts surprisingly simple and then go extremely difficult. Yes, this can actually be harder in some cases, but if you want to make it harder but have less people play your level, then be my guest. And that's all I got. There's much more to good gameplay, and all this is just more of the basics, but hopefully this gives a good idea what it takes to make it at least functional gameplay. So yeah, this is kind of my first time I've ever made a script and read from it. I kind of made some improvisations. I don't know English. So this is kind of the first time I've done something like this. And sorry if I made mistakes here and there and all that. This is the first time I've done this. Sound quality may be worse, I don't know. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and I'm planning on making more. And of course, I referenced something about a gameplay review. I'm planning on doing a gameplay review thing, to where I review people's gameplay from levels. Well, just levels in general. I'm thinking of probably doing 8.0 if I have the time. I actually edit it tonight and get all that done. Unless, of course, it takes a while, because this is going to take a while to get all the gameplay recorded, to put in the background, get this put in, edit up. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. And this is interesting. I kind of like this. I might do this a little more, because this does take a lot of time. It takes a bit of effort. So I'm probably only doing this at night, so I won't be able to talk too loud. So just bear with me on that, but hope you guys enjoy. When I get some more pictures, I might start doing a little more XD, hilarious, LOL, yay, editing like that. Just put some funny pictures on my response. I don't know. It's something to make the thing more enjoyable, because right now it's kind of basic. But yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good day.